Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we're looking at the bioship from Voyager. Actually, Voyager come across species 8472, and then, of course, that's where we get the bioship. So, um, looking here at our Decipher book again, which is where I'm grabbing a lot of our initial readings, and looking at the mission statement for the bioship. Nothing is known about the primary mission of the species 8472 bioship. Species 8472 originates from a dimension of fluidic space and attempts to learn more about the species and their technology have so far proven difficult. Only three encounters between bioships and the USS Voyager occurred while in the Delta Quadrant, and their motivations, psychology, and technology remains a mystery. The 8472 bioship is heavily armed, suggesting a strong military role for the ship, yet a recommendant or reconnaissance, scientific, and exploratory role cannot be ruled out. The vessel's intended mission and the species' motivation behind their construction cannot be reliably speculated upon. So, um, species 8472 bioship is not the first organic ship encountered, though it is the first known to exist in the great numbers, at least 150 according to the logs of the USS Voyager, constructed of the same genetic material as the members of the species 8472. The organic material of the bioship is capable of healing itself after an attack, and the interior systems mimic those of organic life forms. Voyager crew members were able to infiltrate a bioship and reported veins functioning as conduits for uh, electrodynamic fluid, perhaps in a function similar to the electroplasma system, and the use of uh, I'm going to mess this one up neopeptides as a data transfer medium similar to a starship's optical data network. This has led to speculation that the bioship possesses some kind of organic brain to serve the function of a computer core, and perhaps even a matter slash antimatter heart to power the bioship's system. Now, I want to admit right here now that I did not watch a lot of Voyager. Um, I just really had a hard time getting into the series, which, is just whatever. Of course, I admit when Deep Space Nine first came out, I was kind of all sci fied out. You got to remember at that time we had, I think, 15 different science fiction shows because we did have The Next Generation, which had come out. Then we had, oh goodness, now I can't think of all of them. Um, I know there was like an underwater one which mimicked being out in space, but it was like Sea Lab or something like that. Um, just two other ones for sure, and I can't think of them. And then there was a couple other spin-off, very short-lived shows. And being a young kid at the time, I just kind of lost interest. I even lost interest in Star Trek: The Next Generation, which I do really enjoy. After a certain period of time, it was more fun to be out with your friends. So let's just keep it in mind. Could I probably get back and watch it today? Yeah, maybe. I just never really got into it. Um, so I just never got back to watching it and just looking at it from an actual standpoint of what it is. So looking at the bioship itself, to throw it into the universe here, um, and this is again from D6 Holocron where I grab all the other stuff, and of course I did add our um, hyperdrive roughly in here. So this is going to be a battleship. It's at capital scale. It's only about 90 meters long. It's a size 4 ship from the Star Trek. Autopilot is going to be a 3D plus 2, so self driving is going to do a little bit better than your standard humanoid being. Crew of 1, passengers of 50, so it's not a very large crewed ship. Cargo capacity is 1,500 metric tons, has enough consumables for about a year. Our warp drive, it has a 6, a 9 for constant, and a 9.8 for a 24-hour period. So being the time frame of like the next generation and all that, I gave it an 8x and a 1x primary. Uh, just trying to keep everything roughly on the same scale here. If I wanted to grab this and throw it into our Star Wars universe and whatever, have things all collide, who knows? Q just goes off and reads, Star Wars and says, "We're throwing it all together." However, it could work, right? Just saying. Or maybe it's all in a holodeck program, and then there we are. It does, of course, have a nav computer, has a maneuverability of 2D, so that's pretty respectable for a lot of our Star Trek ships. Has a space of 9.5, has an atmosphere speed of 1,175 kilometers an hour. We do have a hull of 2D plus 2 and shields of 4D. So the shields are really respectable. The hull is a little bit above average. So, our 2D is pretty much average across the board. So, just saying it is a little bit above average. And also keep in mind this is capital scale. So if you're a starfighter, it's now going to be a 4D plus 4. All right, so looking at our sensor packet, the number or our passive scan is about 3.5 kilometers. It only has a +2 for your modifier. Our active scan is out to 10 kilometers, and that's at a 1D. And our search is out to 14 kilometers, and that's a 1D plus 2. Our focus is at 500 meters, and that's at a 2D. So it's not huge numbers here. So it does jive with what they were saying that, it seems like this is more of a warship than a scientific ship. So this, having the sensors the way that they did in D6 Holocron really does represent that. All right, so weapons. They have lightning beam weapons. Fire arc is 540 degrees forward. It requires a crew of 1. Fire control is 1D. Has a rate of fire of 1, so 1 shot per round, and damage is 8D. So that is a very significant amount of damage for our Star Trek vessels that we have seen so far. We don't typically get into that with our energy weapons. Usually with a missile or a torpedo or something like that, sure, but not typically with our energy weapons. Okay, we have 2 class Delta tractor beams, 1 forward, 1 aft. Again, crew of 1, fire control is 1D, has a strength of 4D plus 2. So, enough to really grab hold of, another ship for towing or what have you. Okay, healing damage. So the bioship is alive. When it suffers damage, it will heal naturally over time. Use standard healing rules to repair any damage to the bioship that it sustains. And of course, the description and all that, I'm pretty certain are going to be very close to what we have had, although defense against these ships found the crew of the Voyager in form of modified Borg nanoprobes, Voyager Scorpion, Scorpion Part 2, and Prey. So that's the 3 episodes that they had the bioships in the Voyager series. Very nice. So if it's something you want to go and see yourself, we can pinpoint what episodes that they're in. So that's always kind of nice to be able to see that. This also comes from Voyager Core Gamebook, Netbook, pages 36 and 37, or from Memory Alpha and Memory Beta. No, like I said, I did my reading from the old Decipher role-playing game from their Starships line, and I thought they had done a very nice job as well. And the fact that they encompassed everything from like the Enterprise, uh, the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, all that stuff into that was very nice of them to do it just as a general open role playing game. I thought they did a really good job, but uh, doesn't mean that there weren't some slight issues with their system if you really knew how to play the system. And they did say you could overpower things if you play certain number systems or whatever. However, please don't do that, which I do understand. There is no perfect system out there. We do the best we can, and even with systems I don't care for, I might be looking at it in a different aspect for how, or compared to how a lot of people are looking at role playing games today. I am an older RPGer, and most of my games usually are heavily based on combat. And I admit, just it's my best friend, his son, and one of their friends. His son and their friend are doing a little bit more. They want more talkative adventures. So it is causing me to have to think outside of my normal box, and I will do the best I can. I don't know if I do the best, but I try to get games according to who I am running the games for. So as that's shifting for me, role playing as a whole is shifting. It's more of a bigger narrative story, and I try to help with that. I'm not the best at it. I am a little bit better at it's the flavor of the day, and this is what we're attacking. Having a bioship like this would be very nice as a let's throw an enemy out here and let's kind of just attack. But with that, for those that are fans of Voyager, here's a ship for that line. Here's an enemy ship to be able to kind of throw out at you. If you didn't look it up and you're just kind of listening to this, hopefully you're getting ideas. Please go visit the D6 Holocron so you can get the actual stats that they have here if you don't jot them down from what I have. That's why I go through this. And this is all being put into an Excel form so that way I can have a copy in case something drastic happens and we lose that. Hopefully, if that day ever tragically comes about, you can go back and you can kind of copy everything from these YouTube videos. I hope to never pull these down. This is all for fun, not just for me, but for everyone else that does role playing games. And if you like the D6 system, hopefully you can kind of get an idea on this and then kind of run with that. So, with that, thanks for visiting. It's always wonderful having you stop by. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.